Welcome back, everybody, and happy Sunday. I'm your host, Kacee Allen, and this is the Kacee Allen Show.
It's the Kacee Allen Show.
So I just want to start off today's show with a little promotion to help our channels get more outreach in this war on free speech. Go ahead and add our Rumble. We're streaming live right now. That's at Kacee R. Allen. Our channel is the Kacee Allen Show. Go check out our local page. That's at the Kacee Allen Show, and feel free to subscribe and contribute. And our various other social media pages such as X, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram. We should be streaming live on all those right now, so go ahead and check those out and feel free to support. So, like I said, it's a very hard time with free speech, and these mainstream media talking heads and private actors are getting paid a salary to tell you the lie when I'm telling you the truth for free. So always keep that in mind. So the most trending story this past week that's currently ongoing is the pro-Palestinian protests that have occurred through many college campuses in America. This includes the University of Columbia, Texas at Austin, Arizona State, Harvard, many New York schools. And the most interesting thing about this is that these protests, they started relatively normal. You know, it makes sense because the United States not condemning Israel's unlawful attack on Gaza, which has killed 30,000 innocent Palestinians, or at least 70% of that, it makes sense that there's a resistance wanting an answer from the United States, wanting them to condemn this attack. It's totally understandable. I get it myself. But what I do not get and stand for is the pro-Palestinian, and that's what they are. These are pro-Palestinian protesters because there's many of them, and this is all throughout the country this past week. They have gone on college campuses, and these are students as well. They're guilty of this. They've gone on these campuses. They have violently protested. It's not that they're just, protesting with the intent of getting their message across and peacefully doing this within the boundaries of the law. No, they've assaulted police officers, innocent civilians, and they've done all these heinous acts that you're going to see here shortly. We'll have a rundown and later in the show of everything that they've done. But it's really crazy that all this happened at the same time, and there's this large-scale resistance that, in a sense, is anti-American because they are destroying our statues, they're assaulting our law enforcement, they're essentially terrorizing America. That's what happened this past week. And like I said, it wasn't in just one specific location. This was in California, Illinois, Texas, Arizona. I mean, I would assume almost every college in the country had a Palestinian resistance. And when I say this, it's not that their protests or their resistance was always violent. I mean, we've seen many peaceful Palestinian protesters, as we've seen on every single side, American, Muslim. I mean, there are peaceful protesters, and there are the unlawful protesters, and we see in some cases on both sides. So, yes, that is the case here. They want an answer out of Joe Biden and his administration about how they're going to treat Israel. How are they going to go about this large-scale attack that's been done on these Palestinians, and at the same time are giving all this humanitarian aid that's being sent to Gaza. And it's not directly going to Israel. It's literally going to the Hamas militants. It's going to Palestinians. It's going to a plethora of people here. So the United States stance in this is very ambiguous. It's not a direct position. They've said that they support Israel, but now they're like, well, we don't necessarily agree with Netanyahu, and obviously he's trying to sabotage our plans, and he's literally leaking inside information to other countries that, should not be done. So their allegiance with Netanyahu is ambiguous. Their whole position with Palestine is very strange too, because they've been somewhat supportive of them, but then they really condemned the attacks at first with Hamas and associated them within that group. So yeah, the Biden administration has done a poor job at clearly having a stance on this issue. And until they do, we're going to see these protests. That's just how these people feel. And another thing that I saw that was interesting, or I've noticed, is that these people do not want to talk to mainstream media. Whenever any independent journalists, like, you don't have to be a MSM talking head or reporter. You can just be an independent journalist like me, and you try to talk to these people, well, they won't answer you. They do not want to have honest conversations. I've also heard rumors that Israeli actors are dressing up as Palestinian protesters and faking this event. I mean, I'm not sure how much of that is true, but it's important to note that that could be a possibility, noting, the craziness of the circumstance and the things we've seen in our own country in the past 3 to 4 years. It's probably something to take into account. I'm not actually sure how many of these Palestinian protesters, especially the American ones, and the trans, lesbian, the queers for Palestine, I don't know how much they actually see this issue clearly. Like, do they actually understand the geopolitics and the macro environment of this issue? Like, do they even understand what's going on? Like, no, they probably don't. Like, if they're going to create a separate flag, Queers for Palestine, I mean, what the hell does that mean? It's like they come up with these new flags every day, and what does that do? It just makes the movement more divisive. It makes it more hard to understand. And here's the thing. Republicans and conservatives do not want to stand for Palestine and don't want to represent or even acknowledge the innocent people that were bombed in Gaza, because they see this movement associated with the left and with the trans, and they see the Queers for Palestine flag, and they're like, oh, I'm not falling for this. So they're like, okay, well, we need to side with Israel then, because, Israel is, they say it's in our best interest, and they say that, they're our greatest ally. Without any thought, that's just where they go, because they're like, well, we're not going to fall for this, so we have to be, with Israel. And then it's like everyone that isn't Jewish was like, oh, hold on, well, I don't think I want to stand for Israel, because, they were really heavy pushing that, and now they're like backing off. So a lot of people have just taken a neutral position. They're like, well, I don't even know what to think anymore. This is what I've thought the whole time, is that as an American citizen, American patriot, we need to be worried about our country first. First things first, do we see either of these countries as a direct threat to our democracy, our national security, any of that? No, we don't. We're not going to go to world war with Israel or Palestine. But what will lead us into that war is if greedy organizations like the military-industrial complex and various weapons manufacturers continue to get greedy and push this. And, along with the Dick Cheney and Bush mindset of just going to war, the warmongers, that's what is getting us into these wars and will get us into more wars, is because the warmongers of the United States want to fill their pockets. Raytheon, Boeing, these are millions and billions of dollars of weapons manufacturing companies that are contracted with the United States, and it's in their best interest to sell more weapons, sell more guns, and go to war. I mean, it's so obvious. What, are they just going to say, well, maybe we just want to be peaceful. Maybe we just don't want to go to war. No, they're not going to think that. These are warmonger, hungry, savage-like people. I mean, that's just what they do. That's their job. So yeah, you need to know that there are billion-dollar industries in our own country that are set on making these wars happen, that are set on having these atrocities. So that's the reality of the situation. And again, like I said, I do sympathize with the issue of Palestinians and Palestinian protesters. I mean, think about that. 30,000 have been killed since October 7th, when the Hamas militant group killed, or allegedly killed, 1,200 Israelis in that, again, allegedly unforeseen attack. That's another story, but again, 30,000 Palestinians have been killed since October 7th, and 70% are innocent. And the United States have not condemned this. And this is the result. Of course, we're going to see the people in the United States who, one, are Muslim, and two, see things clearly, and three, unfortunately, the third group are the people that are blindly falling into the trap, mostly the trans Americans that are just like, queers for Palestine. So it's very easy to see how all this was orchestrated. And this goes back to 1953 with Iran and the United States relations, which I'm actually going to leak later this week. So stay tuned. I will be releasing either an article or a tweet, but it's going to be on my Twitter and most of my other socials. And I've been working on this for about 2 weeks now. It's going to be a complete timeline of the United States and Iran's relations from 1953 to today. And it's very clearly designed, it's very clearly organized for you to see and understand how the United States funded both sides of the war here. And how we were with Iran, we gave them all these weapons, and then just turned on them, weaponized our agreement against them, and contradicted our previous stances with these people. So it's a very bombshell report I'm going to be releasing later this week, and the idea behind this is that every single person on the planet will have an unbiased view of the United States' relations with Iran over the past 70 years, and you'll see all the conflicts that's happened through the Middle East, the funding of all the wars, and how the United States really orchestrated a lot of this. It's very shocking, and I imagine this will get a lot of views because I've organized this very well, and it doesn't take much time. It's kind of like reading a short article or like a story, maybe a few pages. But you're going to see how the United States government has orchestrated all of this with Israel, with Palestine, with Saudi Arabia, with the motivation and the greed for oil. It's all going to come out, and you're going to see it. It's going to be very visual, and hopefully I don't get punished for this because this is a lot of information that's going to be released, and it is public, but some of it is not. So stay tuned for that. But back to the Palestinian protesters. Yes, they need to be held accountable. The ones that are violent need to know that if they're going to do anything that's going to harm anyone, if they're going to violate any laws, they will be punished. There will be consequences. And there was a man from Colorado, I believe he was a superintendent or some sort of authoritative figure within the school. He told these Palestinian protesters that were setting up tents on their property, which is illegal. He kindly came out and said, look, guys, you can peacefully protest, but you need to take these tents and get them out of here. If not, there's going to be an issue and we will remove them. But he was as genuine, as kind as you could possibly be with these people already violating the rules. So we'll show that here shortly. But this is the best way that you could have handled this. I mean, and yes, he was heckled by tons of the protesters saying, you need to yield to our demands. How is a school figure going to yield to their large-scale demands that come from government authority? That's not how that works. So we'll show that one. But yes, these people need to be held accountable. If they're going to break the law, if they're going to do anything that's going to harm anyone, they're going to face the consequences like anybody else. It doesn't matter if you're an American, Muslim, doesn't matter what your excuse or the adversity or the reasoning is. You cannot violate the laws. You are not above anyone else. Again, I sympathize with the issue. I understand. I've made that clear. But just like anything else. So, again, these protests probably will be stopped and they'll be solved the second the Biden administration gives a clear answer as to how they feel about this, and at the very least acknowledge that Netanyahu is essentially wanting to keep this war going, and he's not being amendable. He's not helping out here. He's not helping the United States. He's not helping anyone but his own interests. He's helping his own military. This is completely a spiritual and personal war between these two nations over land that goes back a long, long time to the existence of man. So the history of it's understandable. But like I said, you don't bring that to America. Don't bring that in our college campuses. It's just going to make things way worse. Like I said, protesting is fine, but harming people, riots, which is what these things were, are not. So we're going to go through the highlights of all the protests that happened throughout these college campuses that were violent and negatively impacted people like police officers and innocent bystanders. Here we go. All right, so we'll go through my Twitter feed here of all the highlights. We're going to start with Columbia University. They decided to go virtual the rest of the year, and this is an Ivy League school, I believe, after these pro-Palestinian protests really got out of hand and started to get violent. And that's not crazy violence, that's just idiocracy. But there you have it. They're just choosing to go virtual from that little fest. Here we have University of Minnesota. Students protest and end camp, and police take it down. So yeah, these tents are being set up everywhere through universities, and it is
These
not
killer
legal.
cops have got to go! Hey, hey! Hey, hey! Protesting is here to stay!
Okay, so there you have that. Obviously, they did everything wrong there. But yeah, we also have students from a West Seattle high school who are protesting their local McDonald's.
Supporting genocide! Supporting genocide! McDonald's, you can hide!
Like, what's Ronald McDonald going to do? Is Ronald McDonald going to fly to Israel and tell them to stop?
McDonald's!
Like, what? That is so stupid. I mean, how is that going to help anything? Go back to school. Educate yourself. Oh, we got arrest on the campus of University of Texas at Austin. This is probably one of the harshest protests. 200 plus students. Yeah, they were attacking police here. But see how the police handle this though. This is in a red state. They do not take shit. Now you see them getting trampled in these blue states, but not in Texas. Alright, like it just goes on. It doesn't really matter where it's at. It happened. Every state. We also have a few protests in Israel. Kind of similar to it. I mean, obviously is in relation, but we'll focus more on the United States for now. Here's another one. Texas police forced to, looks like they're forced to back up as protests continue to escalate at University of Texas Austin. So yeah, that's the one we played earlier. Actually, that's a different one. Here we go. Same idea at the same university, but more of an inside of the protest. But yeah, there was like hundreds of students there. One of the biggest ones. Let's see here. Oh yeah, there was a photographer. I believe he was with Fox. Got arrested.
Who are you with?
I'm with Fox 7.
Fox 7?
Yeah,
What's your name?
Carlos.
Carlos, what do you think of this?
I think it's, they were pushing me and they say that I hit an officer. I didn't hit an officer. They were pushing. You know what I mean? They were pushing me.
I'm a legal observer. What's your name and date of birth? We're going to send attorneys to you.
Right now.
Alright. Let's see. Yeah, so this is in New York. This is where it was more violent, if anything, because they have no law and order there. Yeah. Yeah, they're literally just okay. So yeah, we have at Indiana Memorial Union, or oh yeah, this is IU, Indiana University and Ohio State. They had snipers set up at the top of their campuses, and I'm sure many people who are university students there can probably attest to this. But yeah, they were setting up, waiting for these people to happen, and these are red states. Keep in mind, they do not take shit. Let's see. I mean, it just goes on. There are just so many protests. We have another one. Yeah, we have. Yeah, this is the Denver guy. So this is big. Very big. Best way to handle this.
What's your reaction to the arrest
Really
today?
a genuine guy.
Hey, y'all. Good to see you.
Mike Johnson, what do you say to the students' demands? Mike Johnson, what do you say to the students' demands?
I'd like to talk if I can. Hey, y'all, I just want to...
What do you say to the students?
I'd like to be able to talk if I can. Great. We are here to try to make sure we can help you all exercise your right to protest peacefully. We want this to be a campus where you can exercise your First Amendment rights and be respected to do that. And so to do that, we also need to be able to respect the ability for the rest of the campus.
So no demands. Our demands are not being met.
Hold on, can you let me talk now? Thank you.
Like he's going to be able to do anything about
Sorry, can you
that.
let me I'm going to talk for 60
It's a really
seconds.
simple question.
Just
Yes
shows
or no?
up.
Our
I'm
demands
going
are
to talk
being
for
met.
60 seconds and I'll walk. If you want to listen, you can. If not, that's your choice. So what we want to do is we want to make sure people can protest peacefully. We also have to have a campus that can continue to operate here. So our ask is we need you all to be able to pull down the tents. That is against the campus policy. You can continue to protest peacefully here once the tents come down. We have no desire to make any arrests for anyone. We want them to be able to protest. If the tents can come down, I need to finish talking, please. If the tents can come down in the next 30 minutes, we need you all to do that. The tents can be removed from the campus. You continue to protest peacefully. If the tents do not come down, then we would need to remove those from. We have no desire to make any
It's
arrests.
more of the
But
same.
we do need to be able
Our
to
demands
move
are
those
not being
tents.
met. What does that mean?
I have no capacity to meet
That
any
means
of
you're
your
staying
demands.
right here.
I don't oversee this campus.
That means you're. I have a question that you can't.
We'll be happy to help with you.
Right
Thank you.
here.
How is he going to meet their demands? It just shows the ignorance. I mean, really. So yeah, that was probably the best way to handle that. But I mean, there you have it. That's just the level of stupidity that some of these people have endured. Let's see. I think there's a good Israel. Oh yeah, this is a bit of a side note, but there are a lot of protests in Israel going on right now against Netanyahu, kind of similar to what the Palestinians are doing in the United States. But now they're protesting. These are rabbis that were arrested. So a lot of police state in Israel. So this is something that's happening globally, not in just the United States. This is a civil unrest. More, well, uncivil in some cases. Oh yeah, here is Green Party candidate Jill Stein getting arrested at one of these protests. She's actually running, yeah, presidential candidate. Yeah, that's crazy. Oh yeah, UCLA Jewish student allegedly blocked
me
on
from entering,
campus.
so I'm going to enter right now.
You pay tuition, right?
I do pay
This
tuition.
is our, I believe this is our campus.
Absolutely. Now, if you excuse me. Excuse me.
Not letting them through.
Excuse me. I'm
Don't try to push him. Don't try to push him.
Ladies and gentlemen, they're not letting me enter public land. What they're doing is illegal. Let's get a nice look at their faces. You can kiss your jobs goodbye. This is going to go viral on social media. Shabbat shalom. Preventing me from entering, so
You know, this type of resistance, it's understandable, but the reaction and the substance of this is not. You cannot go out here and, you know, hurt anyone. I mean, it's simple as that. Laws are laws. The Constitution is in place for a reason. And how on earth do these, like we saw in the Denver video, how on earth do these protesters expect administrative people, like people who work in schools, how are they going to have any sort of way to negotiate or make their case any better? How are they going to meet their demands like they're requesting? It makes no sense. So again, like I think I've explained a lot of this here. It's more of the United States has caused a lot of this, and you know, this is the reaction. And within the social environment of our country, how 20% of my generation identifies as gay, lesbian, LGBTQ, or trans, it's no surprise that some of these Americans or some of these people would fall victim into this Palestinian movement, the ignorant Palestinian movement, I should say. Because I believe there are some people out there with the common mindset just protesting for peace and goodness. And what this, this blend of idiocracy is trying to do is just divide our country and make people think that the Palestinian movement in general is bad and we need to support Israel. But again, Joe Biden will not say that. He will not condemn Israel. He will not even, it makes no sense. So, yes, war with Iran is more and more likely if the United States continues to take an ambiguous stance and not get this figured out. It's simple as that. So, yeah, I don't know if this is going to continue over the next couple weeks. It probably will. I would say this was like the message this past week. I think that a lot of these ignorant Palestinians wanted to send, and these supporters, but we shall see.